What's up again, y'all? I guess, news is coming in quickly today, and I'm going to keep coming out here and talking about it as long as we're getting news about stuff. Eugene Asante has decided he is going to run it back for another season, another War Report special live. Hopefully, y'all are not tired of hearing me talk because I am back in here again. Eugene Asante back for another year on the Plains. So he makes the second big name guy returning to the Plains. Keontae Scott decided he was going to return earlier. And gotta love Eugene Asante deciding to come back. He blossomed in this year, finally getting an opportunity this season. I was confused, honestly, after watching him play and the motor that he had, why he didn't get an opportunity under the Harsin staff to get out there and play. He talked a lot about his journey. If you're in here, let me. I feel like I've been talking all day, so of course, and I'm gonna try to get out of here quickly because, you know, I'm still a dad, and my son is gonna be out of school here soon. So, um, if I just randomly hop up out of here, it's because his bus pulled up or something like that. Anyway, y'all need to know all that. All you need to know is Eugene Asante is coming back. Share the video, get it out there on social media, like and subscribe to the channel, all the necessary. But definitely want to hear your thoughts on the return of Eugene Asante for this season. Um, Again, I heard him talk about out there whether or not he was given opportunities with the previous staff. He was on the practice squad, or he asked to be placed on the practice squad. Honestly, he said, "Listen, man, I wasn't getting the opportunity to play, and I don't want to just sit here. So if I want to get reps, practice squad is my place to be able to go." So you know, kudos to him for believing in himself enough. Number one, he transferred from North Carolina initially with the thought that he was going to get an opportunity to come play SEC ball, and just never really got it during his time with Coach Harsin and that staff, Schmetting, that whole deal. And I don't know what all the reasons were, right? Like I never got an opportunity to talk to Coach Schmetting while he was here. And that would really be a question that I would have had for him, because all accounts from people prior to the season that I had talked to that were on the team said that Eugene shows up and he does what he's supposed to do. He's got the right attitude. He's great in the locker room. And then when you see him get out there and play, you see his motor, you see his speed, you see all of the instinctiveness. Now he's still got some things that he needs to work on. He's by far not a perfect prospect, which is why I think him coming back for another season bodes well for his ability to raise his draft stock. I think that he would have gotten drafted this year had he gone and attempted to go pro, but he wants to raise it up to another level. And I think another year of him in this system, he will get an opportunity to do that. Second year in a row, same defensive coordinator, going to get a chance to really raise his draft stock. Now you're looking at a linebacker room that hopefully a full year of a healthy Austin Keys and a full year of a healthy Eugene Asante. You've got two experienced leaders in that room from just kind of an intelligence and emotional standpoint that will push those young men that are coming in this class that we're potentially going to be signing here in a couple of days to go to the next level. And they will have some really good examples of just how to approach things as a collegiate athlete and as players who do it right? Like they show up in the classroom, they show up to practice, and they show up on game day the way that you want players to be able to do that. So very excited to see Eugene Asante decide to come back. Listen, I was a little nervous, probably ain't the right word, but I was like, I don't know. I don't know if he gonna make that decision and run it back one more year. But he did just announce recently via his Instagram and Auburn football's Instagram. There was a shared post that he will, and let me quote the end of it here. Yes, we not done yet. It's time to handle unfinished business. I will be returning to Auburn for my final season. Auburn family, let's work. Let's work. So Eugene Asante is coming back for another year. But again, it was clear all the stuff, and this is why I trust what I hear from players, because then when I see things, it backs those things up. So, certain sources, you hear things from them, and then like you don't see it ever come to fruition, and you're just like, I don't know if that's real, right? And so you start to like not really pay much attention to what those things that those people say are. But everything that people said about Eugene Asante behind closed doors was absolutely true. I heard about his electric personality and how he's a fun guy. I heard about his humility. I heard about his work ethic. I heard about him just kind of being the kind of guy that you want in your locker room. And every interaction I've ever had with Eugene Asante backs that up. He is genuine. We had the conversation about passion, and I understand that passion and emotion are different for a linebacker than they are for a quarterback. But every interaction you get with Eugene Asante, you feel like you're talking to a genuine guy who feels and thinks deeply about his life in football. He hates losing. Passionately hates losing. He gives you 110% every single time he's out there on the field. Again, is he perfect? By no means is he perfect. There's some things he needs to work on. In coverage, I don't think he's the greatest linebacker in the world. He can work on those things at the next level. Sometimes picks the wrong gap, but man, if he gonna pick the wrong gap, he gonna pick it going 120 miles an hour, right, to go try to make a play. He's gonna exhaust himself. He's gonna play through injury. He's gonna do all the things that you just really want. From an effort standpoint, from a football player to go out there and give you. Definitely glad to see him decide to return. Selfishly, as a fan, want to see that happen, and glad to see that it's going to be a thing. I look forward to hopefully a very healthy last season for Eugene Asante here on the Plains. Second season in this scheme. And some big things happening for him this year. He was a revelation, a breath of fresh air when it comes to Auburn football this year. So glad to see that announcement happen. I was kind of poised and ready to go live. I wasn't ready to go live about the Robbie Ashford thing, but I was poised and ready to go live potentially about whatever the decision was going to be for Eugene today. Glad that this ends up being a live where we get to talk about him returning to Auburn football this next season. Gonna go here to some of your comments. Y'all make sure y'all share the video. Is everybody just more interested in talking about quarterback? See, this how y'all do, man. Y'all supposed to come here and be excited about the boy coming back. Knox Cleveland says that's very good for our linebacker room. Absolutely is. You get some more continuity and experience coming back. That defense is going to need to be better in the front seven than they were last year in order to make up for the lack of experience we're going to have in that back five. So hopefully we are able to, does that math check out? Back four? Front seven, back four? I don't know. Yeah. 7 + 4 is 11. That's how that works. Anyway, so those back four, they'll need that front seven to be better. Jacob Smith says, huge. I say we don't try to get a linebacker out of the portal and just let the young guys learn from him. This is another reason I talked about this earlier, actually, in regard to a lot of the decisions around the transfer portal. I think they have been hesitant to go into the transfer portal in some of these instances for some of the names that we've seen out there because they didn't know what they were going to have returning. And so the decisions that were pending for those young men returning for Auburn were going to be big as to what direction they were going to go, either in the transfer portal or with high school recruiting. And that goes for wide receiver, that goes for linebacker, that goes for defensive line specifically. We kind of know what you're going to get with your offensive line as far as eligibility. Those guys were either out of eligibility or definitely returning. There was no real worry there unless you were going to get some depth pieces that were going to be transferring out. And even then, they're depth, right? So you're not really going to try to backfill that with the portal. You're going to bring in guys who can compete for starting jobs, not the guys that you expect to be on the back end of your bench. But defensive line, I think that there's still some spots that are kind of questionable as to what we're going to do in those spaces. So we need to go get some more guys to compete in those places. So that one I don't think has been inhibited by any of the decisions that are pending with some people. Maybe the Justin Rogers decision as to whether or not he's going to go pro. So that one is still kind of up in the air in my opinion. I don't know that they've gotten any clear indication on whether or not he's going to be returning next year. But again, that just because I don't know, it doesn't mean that he hasn't made it clear. I just don't know. And then when you get to the DB room, I think that we've got a lot of unproven but talented guys in that room, so you're not as worried there. So the linebacker room was the one that you're worried about. If Eugene Asante doesn't come back, then you don't really have, like, you've got, I don't think Wesley Steiner still has any eligibility left, so you have really Cam Riley is the other guy that you're pending a decision about where your depth is concerned there. And you know you're going to have Austin Keys again this year because he's fully locked in with Auburn, and has another year of eligibility and just transferred in last year. So you know you're going to have Austin Keys there. But you're losing Larry Nixon, a lot of snaps, a lot of experience going out the door right there. If you had lost Eugene Asante as well, then now you have to figure out how you're going to plug in for that kind of guy. Now you don't have to worry about that. Hopefully we'll have a great situation going forward in that linebacker room. And then to that point, have some young guys behind them that they can learn from as far as the scheme and then just the effort it takes and the kind of way that you want to go about business. Eugene Asante is the kind of guy that you want them to learn that from. Heard good things about Austin Keys as well. Have not had the opportunity to speak with Austin Keys myself personally, but heard good things about him. And again, you kind of start to trust things that you hear from certain sources when what you hear turns out to be the reality for what you see on the field and other places. Let's see here. Now, Cleveland says, yeah, Eugene's going to feast next year. Certainly hope so. I look forward to what he's able to bring to this football team coming up next year. Again, another year in the system, another year. And I expect him to be one of those guys that you just kind of pencil in as a starter, unless one of these freshmen just come in and blow the doors off. It's going to take a lot to unseat a Eugene Asante is the way that he goes about business and working and the kind of experience that he already has out there and his physically he's ready. His work ethic, he's ready. He's got the experience in this system. So there's no reason why you would say to yourself he's not going to be a starter coming up next year at the linebacker position. Bankroll Block A asked, any word on Jarquez? Jarquez will be back. Every indication that I've gotten from everybody that I've talked to is saying that Jarquez is going to be returning for another season. Now, again, I'm saying that today he hasn't made any formal announcements, but I don't think that there's people who are out there worrying about whether or not he's going to return inside that building. And so, yeah, Jarquez should be back for next season. Daniel Plainview says, an Ike doubleheader today, huh? You know what would be really cool is if we flipped a recruit and then Ike would stop by for a third time today. I probably am not going to do that a third time today. I ain't gonna lie to you, especially not about a recruit this close to early signing day. Like, I'm gonna wait to early signing day to really dig into that sort of thing. So I probably wouldn't give y'all a triple header today about a recruit. But I felt like the news was big enough on these last two to go ahead and go live. I don't know that there are any other pending situations that would be big enough or tenuous enough. I won't even say big because I think the return of any of the starters that could potentially have hit the portal is big enough news if there's going to be a formal announcement. If there's a formal announcement made about it, I feel like there was some of a guy who got significant snaps or there was enough juice around, then I feel like it's big enough to go live about. I wouldn't probably do that about a recruit this late in the early signing day cycle because, again, early signing day is Wednesday. So if they're announcing that flip today, then big news. But I don't know that I would. Maybe somebody else from the channel would. Randy Witherspoon says Eugene is a building block of the defense. Agreed with that. Eugene Asante is definitely somebody who you want to be able to build off of. I think he gives you a lot of great momentum. And plus, let's be clear. We didn't do the live about Keontae Scott because I already had the planned content that we were going to do with him, and I already had a morning drop that I could cover that with. We already did the morning drop today, and this news came afterwards, so we had to do a special live about it later. So, this isn't necessarily about the person. It's more so about the timing of it. Knox jumps back in and says, I believe the linebacker might be one of our best next year. Listen, we've got a lot of talent in that room. We finally, I think, have some continuity. Buzzword from B. Will right there. Continuity returning in that room that we feel confident in going into the season. Haven't been able to say that in a few years, right? Maybe at one of the linebacker spots, but not both. I feel good about both of the linebacker spots with those two young men returning with, again, I haven't heard he's going to leave. Cam Riley still being in that room. And then you've got all those freshmen that are going to be coming in that are going to be solid contributors, I think, for years to come. Feel good about where you are with your linebacker room right now. Let's see. Knox says was going to ask if there was anyone else who's on the fence on returning or not. Again, the only there's a lot of people on the fence. Let's be clear about that. There's a lot of people who have been kind of in this, I don't know, decision mode. As far as names that I think would be of note, the only person who hasn't made a formal announcement, but I feel good about right now, would be a guy like Jay Fair. Like, I feel good about him returning, but I mean, that could change. I don't know. He might find a situation that makes sense for him. Holden hasn't said anything specific, but from what I know right now, I feel like Holden's going to be returning. Haven't heard about Justin Rogers yet as to whether or not he's going to decide to go pro. But that's, I guess, somebody who you could put in a potential holding pattern, and maybe he makes a decision after the bowl game type of thing. Have not heard anything about Coy Moore specifically. I've heard some things, but like there's been no definitive yes, definitely, blah blah blah. So I think that would be another one that you maybe would want to look out for. Again, I'm not saying any of these guys are considering leaving. I'm saying those are the guys that, if I look at potentials out there that would say maybe there's an opportunity for them to go somewhere else, then those would be the guys that I would start with the wondering about. And I haven't heard anything that says to me, yes, 100% sure, that's been announced at least, or that I'm willing to put out there. Had some conversations with some people, but again, those are fluid realities. But I would put my confidence level in all of those names I just said and returning pretty high. Sans Justin Rogers, because again, I don't really have a connection with him or his people to be able to verify that. So I don't know what he's thinking about as far as going pro is concerned. And let me think through the roster here for a minute. Damari, I think, has solidified himself. He's going to be back. No issues there. Brian Batty, I have not spoken with. I don't know definitively, but I believe that he will be returning this next season. I already talked about Jarquez. Don't have any issues along the offensive line that I think you would have to worry about. Jason Jones definitely coming back next season. That's all I can think of. And then McLeod. I haven't heard anything about him, but I feel good about him returning next season as well. So those are the only ones that we have. Simp is gone. DJ's gone. Mighty's gone. Right. Puckett hasn't said anything about it. We could try to find out, but Puckett hasn't made any, and I think he has another year of eligibility with all the COVID stuff. But I think, he's more focused on graduating and getting on with his life than trying to worry about football right now. So he is going to be playing in the bowl game as far as I know. So he isn't considering hitting the transfer portal. As to whether or not he's going to exercise his additional year of eligibility, I don't know. He could do like a Luke Deal situation, I believe, and come back for that additional year. Outside of that, I think, I've run down the vast majority of guys who would have been in the starting lineup last year at some point in time. DK is good. I'm pretty sure DK is coming back. I haven't heard anything to the contrary of that. And we already know about Keontae. So that's pretty much all the guys that I know anything about. You've got as much information as I do right now about the status of people. And so I'm sure there are some other people who might know more than I do. And, great for them. I know there are people out there. Let me just say this, bro. I'm going to say this. I'm not going to name no names. I'm not going to name any names. But I will say this definitively. And if anybody decides to come for me because you feel like I'm talking to you about you when I say this, then do with this what you will. There are people who their job is to put out news about stuff that I know for a fact are either completely dishonest in what they're saying, meaning they know what they're saying isn't true, or completely uninformed in making up things. This I know for a fact, because I know the reality of certain situations, and then I know what gets put out by those people, and I'm like, that's just not true. It's just pointedly untrue. And I have sources to and I trust my sources because I've been able to verify the veracity. So I hadn't given y'all like a big collegiate word in a while. I've been able to verify the veracity of their statements. And so I know things that they're saying are just not true. It's just pointedly untrue. And I don't call people out because, I don't want to have to burn my sources, but I do just sit back and laugh sometimes. And I'm like, okay, believe that if you want to, that's fine. But I know that to not be a true thing. So you're either intentionally lying to people or you're making things up and purporting it as truth. and reporting these fake things as like scoops. That's crazy to me. Y'all making a living off of lying to people. That's crazy. You can disagree with my opinion all you want to. I'm not lying to nobody. I ain't just coming out here just flat out saying untrue stuff. But hey, it is what it is. This ain't about that. What it is about is Eugene Asante coming back, baby. So I have not gotten confirmation on this one as of yet. But Mike G did just speak with Eugene Asante. I'm checking my phone right now. Said he's excited to return. So I don't know if we're going to get a chance to sit down with Eugene today, but the Robbie Ashford one is coming. So be on the lookout for that one. And listen, similarly, we got a chance to talk with Keontae Scott after he made his decision to return, and I was very glad to be able to do that. We're gonna try to bring you guys more of this, like not just like soundbite. I mean, we're gonna try to actually sit down and talk with guys about their decisions to return or leave, and take advantage of the relationships that we've built with these young men. So be on the lookout for more of that stuff as we get more news in. Not as big a crowd in here today. You guys aren't as active in the chat, so I ain't going to hold y'all too long just sitting here rambling. But Eugene Asante has decided to return to Auburn. Very thankful for that. Randy jumps back in here and says, our guys got something to prove. Year 2, Auburn kicking down doors. Definitely hoping that continuity along that defensive front is going to pay dividends next year. SJ June 13 says, do you think Eugene will make the draft? I think Eugene would have gotten drafted this year. Listen, I said this and about Owen Pappo when he went into the draft. You look at the tape on Owen Pappo and you see freak athleticism and you see the hype that he came out with. And this is what I said about Owen Pappo before the draft last year. He's going to go to the combine and he's going to put up some numbers that are going to turn heads, and he's going to end up being a higher draft pick than most people think because his statistics and his tape don't show that. I think the same thing of Jalen Simpson this year. I said this recently. Jalen Simpson's going to go to the combine, and if he's healthy at the combine, he's going to put up numbers that are going to, and you couple that with his tape, and you see, oh, this is a ball player. Eugene Asante, similar. He's probably, based on tape alone, turning some heads. Hey, we can get him in here, make him a special. Then he's going to go to the combine, and he's going to run a freaky number, and he's going to push up a bunch of weight, and people are going to be like, whoa. And they're going to see freak athleticism. Then they're going to turn on the tape, and they're going to see downhill speed to the ball. They're going to see effort, energy. They're going to see all of that, and they're going to say, oh, I can work with this guy. Eugene Asante will be drafted whenever he decides to go pro. Barring any injuries, I'm saying it today, and I will repeat it again as many times as I need to, Eugene Asante will be drafted whenever he decides to go pro. I fully believe that. Let's see here. This is the circle of life. 1-9 leaves and 1-9 stays. And the same day we get decisions from both sides of the ball about the 9 on offense and the 9 on defense. There is certain poetry to that. I will agree. Let's see. Preston Sanders says, I know it's Asante's time, but your thoughts on retaining 5-star receivers, our 5-star receivers on National Signing Day. I feel good about that as of right now. We talked a little bit about that this morning. Feel good about it right now. Jacob Smith says, I heard KJ Bolden is wanting to make sure the rest of the defense is studs on the team he plays for, so maybe this will help us get him. Definitely doesn't hurt. When you put on the tape, he looks like a stud. Keontae Scott coming back helps. Definitely doesn't hurt. So he's not going to be around a bunch of inexperience. He's going to have some inexperience. Can Lee doing what he did last year doesn't hurt, right? You go and you look at Keldrick Falk. You put on the tape. It doesn't hurt. Jalen McLeod coming back doesn't hurt, right? DK coming back doesn't hurt. There are some guys you can go out there and ball. So he's not going to be looked to be the savior of a defense when he goes there, right? So I think that those things definitely help. Knox again jumps in. I love Asante, one of the biggest sparks for our defense. I will agree with this one wholeheartedly. I love what he brought from a tangible and intangible standpoint. Look, I like what he put on the film during the games. I love what he brings to the locker room, all those things. All right, y'all. Listen, I ain't gonna talk y'all heads off again. I appreciate everybody dropping in with me once again, but I don't think I'm gonna be back out here a third time. But you never know. Maybe somebody else makes some sort of announcement. It'll be worth me getting back out here. Share the video before y'all get out of here. Hit the thumbs up on the video. All those things, and I will look forward to seeing y'all next time. I'm out of here. War Eagle. Peace.